Good afternoon, everybody. I am Jerry Miller. I'm here at Peninsula Wellness. We're in the month of March. Today's Wednesday, March the 3rd. Today's yoga is yoga for movement and sleep support. A lot of us have issues with sleep support. I'll give some little story about myself as we go through this practice today, but I want to give you some good information about yoga and actually scientific information. So while I was trying to always do some research on this, there's an endless amount of information on there. Yes, there's some good stuff. Yeah, probably not some good stuff, but maybe look at some stuff that's actually proven. So we like the scientific method for that. Back to what today's class is going to be focused on. We're going to focus on movement. We're going to focus on that with an understanding that there's several poses and there's more than what we're going to do today that are geared toward some relaxation, some rest, some restoration. And then those are some of the poses that you can find sleep support in. Some of us can even go to sleep at night being in one of those poses, or maybe we just want to take a time out and get in that pose and just really maybe drift off. That's actually called sleep yoga nidra, which is sleep, and that's more toward the restorative end of it with a certain amount of poses. And there's the hatha yoga where we'll do some of that today in addition to some of our flows. Is hatha is maybe holding that pose, asana, for a certain amount of time. Let's talk about yoga and sleep just briefly. Breathing is the most important part of sleep support. Breathing is the most important part of yoga. So always putting that in the forefront and finding the pose, if you're going to use it for sleep support, that suits you for the day. Maybe your body doesn't feel so good. Maybe you want to find another pose, and that's perfectly fine. So using a pose that works best for you each time, it may be different. Maybe it's the same. Like I said in the beginning, there's lots of scientific studies that you can find online. I found an endless amount. I started printing them off, and I already knew this information, but it's always good to have it as a review for myself. A lot of good information from Harvard University and some great information from not too far from here, Johns Hopkins University. And they're all medical studies. So check them out for yourself. I'm saying it, but always do a check for yourself. A few poses that you will hear along the way in the practice for relaxation support are child pose, also known as balasana, legs up the wall, which we're not going to do in here. I don't want to put my feet on the wall today, but we may talk about it. Corpse pose, which is shavasana pose, and the supinated or up-facing butterfly pose. We will do those. Those are going to be in our practice today. When you're setting up for sleep for yoga at home, this is what I want you to think about. Setting up a room or a space for that. Knowing that if you're going to do it in the bedroom typically is for sleep, and I'm just going to put that word out there. The bedroom should be used for sex. Really, you shouldn't have a TV in there. I know many of you do. But I don't. I started that about 8 years ago, and it is the best thing that I've ever done of putting yourself to sleep how you need to put yourself to sleep. Is it difficult and challenging? Absolutely, 100%. Was it hard? Absolutely, 100%. But moving that device out of my room was the best thing that I could do for me, especially as I have these huge challenges for sleep for myself. The lights are important, dim lights, and if you like soothing music, find some music that you like. It doesn't have to be a yoga style music. It could be whatever you like to listen to. I like to listen to reggae sometimes, so I'll tap into Stick Figure. That is on Pandora, I believe. Sometimes I will use a meditation or yoga style music. If you don't like music, that's also, it's just an option for you. So lights, sound. So let's think about light, sound. And then lastly, your attire. So putting yourself in some comfortable clothes. They don't typically have to be yoga clothes. It could be your jammies. So that's all that you need to have. It's everything that you have at home. You don't have to go buy anything for this. You don't need a mat for when you're doing relaxation or rest support for yoga. We will be using your deep, full diaphragmatic breath today. That's what you need to use as a tool, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. If you have a sinus issue or any other issue with your nose, then you can, of course, mouth breathe. But we want to pull that breath in, that Darth Vader, that ocean breath, pull it to the back of our throat. You want to be able to hear that, and then exhale that out the nose. We're going to begin right now. We're going to start today by breathing, moving, and resting. Today's practice, we're going to start on our back. So coming to your back on your mat, and I was sitting on a mat because my sit bones aren't real happy today with me. We're going to lie down on your back, and we're going to begin in Shavasana pose, and which is corpse pose. So that's one relaxation pose for you. That this is the pose that you can do if you want to rest and restore and repair here. So lying on our back, opening your chest, relaxing your shoulders, maybe wiggling around a little bit until you find that place. If this isn't comfortable for you and you may have lower back issues or hip issues, you're welcome to bend your legs. So there's modifications that you can find for yourself, or I'll try to provide them along the way. So I like my legs bent today. It feels better. I may end up straightening my knees, but I'm just going to open up my body and just kind of let go of whatever's happening with my day. And we can begin that yoga breath where I inhale through my nose, draw that breath deeply and fully into my ribs. I'm going to use a 3 count for myself today. Inhaling for 3 and exhaling for 3. You can pick any number you want. Just keep it kind of a lower number. You can make that number long, or you can stretch it out, make it long. Like I said, you can shorten it. So I'm going to do 3 and 3. So equal ratio breathing here. So let's begin breathing here into this relaxed position as we warm up for our practice. So we want to stay in this position. If we're going to rest in this position, even though we're warming up here, if you're working on the rest and the sleep part of it for your sleep support, you want to stay in this position maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and you may end up even dozing off, which is superb if you can do that. That's actually awesome if you're able to do that in your practice. So we're not going to do 3 to 5 minutes because we are limited for time. So what I want you to do is to, if your feet aren't already on the ground, go ahead and bend your legs and open your eyes and draw your hands into your ribs today. So placing your hands on your ribs and then opening your chest by drawing your shoulder blades together, looking high up above you, and then just lifting your feet off the ground. And letting the knees come to the outside of the body, holding onto the shins, drawing that in just gently and easy. And then giving yourself a gentle roll from side to side. So trying to continue fully with that breath that you've created for yourself. And then we're going to ground our feet, or bring our feet back to the mat. Bring our arms beside our body. We're going to start moving and flowing and breathing here. So this is where the movement's going to go towards your yoga support. Inhaling up for bridge and exhaling down. See if you can activate your fingers and hands a little more as we're working through this big flow by pressing each of your fingers and thumbs and the part of your hands that touches the mat a little more firmly into the mat that you're on top of. And then we're going to take this last bridge up. We're going to hold, maybe move our feet a little closer. Move your arms as close to your body as you can and lift up a little higher, squeezing with your glutes or your bottom muscles. Let's go back into focusing on this pose, but only being mindful of the breath. So inhaling and exhaling fully and completely. And then on your next exhale, we're going to release that down. This time lifting and pulling the left knee to the chest. Keep the right leg bent. Just pull in, hug tightly, and breathe fully here. Go ahead and release your left foot down. Hug your right knee to your chest, just like we did on the left side. Hugging deeply, fully drawing that in and breathing once again. And then let's release that down. Take a big inhale, separate your hands and reach your arms over your head. And then we'll create a big movement with your shoulders. We'll exhale the arms back beside the body. Squeeze your legs tightly together. We're just working through the shoulders here. Inhale, reach, open up. Exhale, bring that down. Kind of like opening and closing the door gently. And keeping it on the hinges so that it's smooth. No slamming, no fast movements. Just nice and easy. And then we'll stop right there. Once you lift your legs straight up in the air, if you can, and then bend your knees. Think about just bending your knees at 90 degrees. So just kind of feel where that is. It's somewhere right where it needs to be. And then we're going to have that hinge at our hips and at our knees. So we kind of look like we're sitting in a chair on our back. Bring your arms to the outside of your legs. Exhale, lift your head and shoulders up. Inhale, we return that down. Using your abs to lift and lower you. If you have any discomfort in your head and neck, then please kindly maybe stack your hands behind your head and neck, keeping your chest open. So we have lots of options there. As we come to this last one down, bring your hands back to your ribs, but this time separate your feet and your knees. We're going to let our knees fall to the left and gently turn your head to the right. So that puts us in a nice, easy spinal twist. Let's breathe and hold this position here. Inhale everything to center, head and knees, and then exhale your knees to the right and gently turn your head to the left. And then we'll inhale back to center. Reach your arms up, open your chest a little bit. Exhale, draw your hands together, and then maybe give yourself a little roll forward or roll to your side, and then we're going to sit tall. Let's work through our upper body here before we find hands and knees. So finding your sit bones and sitting maybe cross-legged, or you can extend your legs out. Reaching your arms out to the side. Take a big inhale, raise your arms up, and exhale down. Extend through your elbows as much as you want. Reach for your fingertips at the top towards the ceiling up above you. Inhale, maybe lift your head, look at your hands, exhale down. Or maybe you can just keep your head in one position right here. We always have some good options. Just be mindful of your spine always and keeping it in a good protected position. And then we'll bring that down, bring your hands to your shins and gently lean back. This puts us into a seated cat pose, into spinal flexion. And then we'll inhale, sit tall into seated cow position. We'll find that little flow here with that one breath, inhale, one exhale, and 2 yoga poses. I'll stop in center, bring your hands to heart center. Let's gather about 5 full breaths here. So I just finished my last breath. You can finish yours. Bring your hands to your shins and draw your chin up away from your body. Elongate your spine and just sit a little bit taller here. And then we're going to release our hands and scoot back and then up onto our hands and knees. This puts us into tabletop position. Making sure your hands, your wrists are underneath your shoulders. Your elbows are extended as much as you can without locking out, as we call, through any joints. We don't want to lock our joints in anything. We want to keep them extended as much as we can, but never locking anything, or even trying to hyperextend or flex is out of the ball game for us. We want to keep our yoga practice in a safe realm. So we're going to exhale into cat and inhale into cow pose. I always say spinal health here. This is what our spine can do, flex and extend. It can also twist in certain areas. Be mindful and careful when we do twisting. We already did one twist today, which was your spinal twist. And this is just your spinal flexion and extension, and moving with your breath, exhaling cat and inhaling cow. Let's all meet as a little group up into this cat pose and find the time we're going to breathe and hold this position. We're going to take 5 full breaths here this afternoon. And then we're going to release into neutral, which is your tabletop. On your next inhale, lift your head and your tailbone slightly to find your cow pose, and we're going to give that 5 full breaths as well. And then we're going to release all the way back into that second relaxation pose, or resting pose, or repairing pose, or restoration. A lot of R's we can use on these rest or sleep support poses is your child pose. And if you see me moving around with my left foot, it's because I'm getting a cramp in the arch of my foot. So if you get cramps in your feet, move your foot into this position, which is dorsiflexion, and then try to go back into plantar flexion. And it eventually will settle down, but that's very common when we practice yoga and we're putting our foot into this position with a little bit of weight on it with gravity, and we're trying to extend through those joints, that ankle joint in the back, by our foot in a funny position, because that's not the position we walk around in. We walk around in more of a dorsiflexion position. So feet cramp, change positions. Releasing your body into a little open space here, your forehead to the mat or maybe to a stack of hands. Always supporting the head and neck. This is your second pose of rest, is child pose. So let's take 5 full breaths here this afternoon, and that's pulling us into that kind of a hatha style of yoga where we're in a pose and we're staying in it for a certain amount of breath. So we're just going to stay here for 5. So let's go ahead and start inhaling and exhaling for a 5 5 cycles of that breath. So I just finished my 5th breath, and I'm going to come back up into tabletop. So you can come back up there when you're finished, and we'll meet right here. Well, while we're waiting for everybody, we're going to make a circle, clockwise circle with our body, and then stop at the top. Then we're going to do a counterclockwise circle, and then stop at the top. You're going to keep doing that for a little bit, just kind of opening through the ribs, the spine, and the hips, the shoulders, wrist. You'll feel a lot of your whole body is involved in these circles. And then we'll stop and we'll release back into child pose. We're just going to take 3 breaths here. And let's come back to all fours. Let's tuck the toes under and go into that big pose, whole body pose of downward facing dog, where we're using our feet and hands to weight bear, and we're going to walk the dog here. It's kind of pressing one heel down at a time. This is a part of your practice where you just really get to customize that. Sometimes I'll walk my feet over to the side and play out on this side a little bit. And maybe I'll walk back to center and then to the other side. Sometimes it's nice just to stay in center, maybe just bend the knees and straighten the knees. Make sure your head is tucked in between your arms, and think about your ears are in line with your biceps and muscles kind of on the anterior part of your arm. And then we'll stop and center press the heels down. We'll walk the feet back a little bit, shift the shoulders over the hands, and hang out in plank for 5 full breaths. This is one plank. This is your other plank today for this. Kneeling plank, or feet up on your feet. So let's take 5 cycles of breath here. And then we're going to gently bring the knees down. We're going to give that rest in that child pose there. Releasing it down and back. And you should find, like on this 3rd child pose that we just did, is that you can really let your body relax a little more as we get warmed up. We create more mobility in our joints. Our body temperature is increasing. The blood flow is increasing. We've got lots of wonderful, healthy things going on. And then we'll take an inhale up to all fours. Sometimes if we stay there too long, we get a little too uncomfortable. Not too uncomfortable, we get too comfortable and we want to hang out there longer and rest, which is actually a good sign that you can do that. So we're going to exhale back into down dog, and then we're going to take the time to walk our feet to our hands and coming up towards the top of your mat. Always feel free to move around and on your mat if you're not in a position. Don't feel like you have to stay in that position just because we're in a pose. Move and get yourself comfortable. Extend through your legs as much as you can. This actually, in one of my articles that I was reading over, was stating that standing forward fold, which is what pose I'm in right now, is a relaxation pose, and it's an inversion, and I actually do find it very relaxing. Some people might not. Be careful if you feel like you're getting dizzy. Don't be upside down too long, so listen to your body. And maybe softening the knees a little bit is helpful too, or spreading the feet apart so your body can kind of hold itself into this space. And then we're going to bend the legs and use our legs to power up into a big tall mountain pose with your arms next to your ears here. And we're just going to breathe here. We're going to take 5 full breaths here again today, just holding and reaching. And finding what your feet do on the mat, and that every part of your foot doesn't touch, even though you have some of us have what are flat feet. I don't. I have a pretty good arch in my foot. So every part of my foot can't touch. Not every part of my toes can touch, because toes are Most of the time a little curly. They're not all the way straight all the time. And reach and breathe here just for a few more breaths, finishing that cycle of 5, and then we'll exhale, we'll swan dive down. And then we'll bend our knees and inhale up. And then we'll exhale, reaching the arms out in front of us for chair briefly. We'll come all the way up into mountain with a big inhale. Exhale, swan dive down. So let's find this flow right here. Inhale, bending the legs, powering up. High mount, arms overhead. Exhale into chair with prayer this time. Inhale back up. Exhale, swan dive down. We're going to do a few more cycles, maybe changing the arms up as you go, reaching out in front, or maybe pulling your hands to your heart like this. And then we'll swan dive down. So we'll do 2 chairs at the top of this mountain. We'll inhale up, exhale into chair, arms forward, inhale up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale up, exhale, swan dive down. And then we're going to step back into plank. We're going to bring the knees down. Let's do 4 sun salutations for our flow today. We're going to exhale into crocodile, inhale cobra, exhale child pose. Let's do 4 more of those. And then we're going to finish in that resting, that sleep support pose of child pose. Let's take 5 full breaths here. And then inhale up. I don't know about everybody that's doing this with me or later, but I find a lot of comfort in that today. That was very relaxing for me, and I hope that you were able to find that as well. I want you to come around to your bottom and then come back to your back. Then we're going to give you that introduction to that 3rd pose, which is going to be your supinated. I call it a supinated, means your body is facing upward or outward. And you're going to bring the bottoms of your feet together and let your knees fall kind of open to the side. So this opens the hips and the pelvis. This is kind of a submissive position. If you're not comfortable in this position, then it's not for you. Hands on your hip points right now. Find your ribs just for a reference point. And then we're going to move our arms off to the side. So you're kind of in a corpse, a modified version of corpse pose almost. Your just knees are bent, hips are open. So we've got a really, really nice hip opener here. This opens the chest. It creates a nice long spine here. So this is your 3rd one of finding rest. We're going to take 5 full breaths here. And then see if you, while you're doing this breathing, taking that exhale and allowing your body to just relax a little more, just giving way to stress, giving way to tightness. I just finished my last breath of that. So I'm going to press my feet together and then draw my legs back together. That's going to keep each hip in a good alignment. It gives me a nice way to get out of that. And then we're going to return to corpse pose or your shavasana, which is another restoration. Could be your sleep position. I try to use this sleep position at night. It's been difficult lately to do it, but I've got to really, really think about what I'm doing if I want to try to get a better night's sleep. So let's give ourselves 5 full breaths here again. I just finished my 5th breath there. So I'm going to bend my legs. I hope that you found that is comforting for yourself, and we're able to maybe even just tap into just the beginning part of being able to be relaxed in at least one of those poses, and that you could use that for your sleep support. I'm going to roll myself forward and sit up and give you one little last talk about sleep support and just a personal experience that I've had in the last few days. So lots of drama going on, lots of life going on out there. I take CBD from here. I support it 100%. It took me about 16 to 20 weeks to really get into my body. For me, it's not one of those things. I wasn't instantaneous relieved of stress in my body, and maybe some relaxation, some physical tension, as well as some mental tension. The other day, something else happened. I reached out to Donnie here yesterday. Met him before we shot this class, because I'm actually really vigilant right now. My PT is acting up because of this. So I'm going to try this. It's Curio's sleep support. And it's one of those things, once again, like the CBD with me, you got to give it a shot. So I'm going to log myself for the next 2 or 3 weeks, give feedback to him, because he needs to know as he refers this to other people as well as myself. So this is the next step in my sleep support. I haven't been sleeping good, to make a long story short. So willing to try this, something that's more homeopathic. I believe it has some melatonin and some valerian root. Can't see it in here because it is a little bit dark, but I'm going to do this. I will give you guys some feedback too, because I'll be on in a month from here, and I'll know in a month, like, is this stuff helping me? So it's always important to share information. Come see the store here. Look at my stuff, Jam Studios. I don't know what we have for you the month of April, but we'll be into spring next time when I see you. So maybe it won't be all black. Maybe it'll be something else shiny, and maybe red and yellow or something. So everybody take care, and I'll see you in a month, but come see us here at Peninsula Wellness, and come check me out at Jam Studios on Facebook. Thank you, and have a and peace to everybody. Take care.